And we're live. Thanks, Janine. Welcome, everybody, to the Tummy Whisperer podcast. I am your host, Renee Barish. I'm very excited to piggyback on our last episode because we were losing Dr. Cari with her stream, but we've got her hopefully full time here today for our episode. She's hardwired in. Thanks to her wonderful husband. And you know, I'm so excited because I got so many inquiries on our last episode about how to roll out some new health in 2024. People are curious about their symptoms. They're curious about what they can do to better themselves. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel fine, but there's more people that don't feel fine that can use some help and some answers as far as how to better themselves. And there's so many wonderful tools and opportunities out there for great practitioners to partner with you for your health. So as everybody knows, I do gut health and I help people feel better in their tummy and their digestive system and detoxification pathways and all the things that slow down your health. So what does slowing down your health look like? Well, it looks like symptoms, right? And my mentor, Dr. Loomis, always spells symptoms with dollar signs at the front and the back, because with your symptoms, you've got to pay money, right? To your healthcare practitioners, to your doctors. And how do we slow down our symptoms, and how do we get into a place of balance and feeling good? So we're going to just piggyback on Dr. Cari's, how she started with talking about the emotions and the chemistry and how it all relates to how it all translates into how our body expresses what it expresses, whether it's a gas, a bloating, an emotion, a rash, a joint issue, name it, right? Anything. The body has such an innate wisdom, and the body wants to be in balance. We just have to give it the tools. We just have to give it the right things, whether it's an essential oil to help change your brain chemistry, or a flower essence, or a gluten-free something that you're removing, some hard chemistry that your body responds to. So this isn't about taking away reasons that your body responds to things, but it's about helping your body stay in balance through this toxic world that we live in with, unclean water, bad air quality, shitty food. I won't go down the vaccine route, but anyway, there's a lot of things that really mess us all up, right? So in this episode, we're going to go forward and we're going to just give you guys lots of answers, and there's going to be something for everybody. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cari Jacobson, who is my dear friend, trusted colleague. And I'll just also let you guys know I was in her office last week for the first time in a few years to get my own Q1RT from Dr. Naomi. And it was just wonderful. And I'll just give you the quick version of what I left with. So she muscle test, right? Energy test to see what's going on and where the blocks are. And sure enough, one of the things that came up was people piss me off. What a surprise. So, so she has me doing this, blowing out my mouth, testing, raise my shoulder, spin 3 times, say the sentence. And before I'm doing it, you have this, you can feel it in your body, like people piss me off. And when I say it, it's like, yeah, people piss me off, for whatever reason. And that's just normal. So we go through the session. I get done. She has me repeat the things that she found. And the first time I was saying it, I couldn't even get it out of my mouth because I felt it in my body. And I was like, yeah, I couldn't even finish a sentence. Got done with the treatment. Everything was flowing out. And my body just felt at peace. So I walked out of the office feeling like all my cells were like back online. And when I think about these things that maybe bother me, it's like I almost can't get upset at like people's shortcomings, like it's not really about me, and it is about me, but their shit is not about me. So how do you feel okay with other people's misgivings? Well, you just rewire your brain. And that's one of the beautiful things about Q1RT. And I got to experience it last week, and I'm going next week, and I'm bringing my husband in for some marriage counseling, also known as Q1RT. So it was a wonderful experience. And with that, Dr. Cari, just take it away. Just dive in and just, please tell everybody how you help people and what you do. And
yeah, so I opened Be Optimal Holistic Health Center in June of 2010, and I've been in practice for about 17-ish years as a doctorate of chiropractic. And I generally say I'm a chiropractic kinesiologist and holistic doctor. because I'm certified in practice probably about 20 different modalities. And it just allows me to access the body structurally, biochemically, emotionally, energetically, in that when a different aspect of the body or being is out of balance, the rest of it kind of falls. So as an applied kinesiologist, we look at the triad of health. And if one aspect of the triad is out of balance, emotions, structure, whatever, the whole triangle falls apart kind of thing. So that's the holistic approach. It allows me to get more to the root cause. And generally speaking, I say, I don't treat the symptom, I treat the body. When the body's in balance, we're able to thrive. So the symptom is just the smoke signal that says, yo, there's a problem somewhere in there, right? And what I want to say is that more people, and I don't know if I've said this before with you guys, but more people spend more money in the last few days of their life to try to stay alive than they do their entire life to just be healthy, like live more vibrantly. And that's just the truth. People generally, I had people over at my place, and Renee and I she's like, I think you beat me on supplements, which I think so. I have like a literal apothecary in my house. Just because we do so, between my husband and I, and even my dog, like we have so many supplements and they just kind of accumulate and it's insane. But I always say, like, build up your arsenal, have tools and strategies and somebody or many people to support you to be in that state of health, like preventative health and wellness. So we just Daryl had like a training that happened. He does something called Poetry Pals, and it's about bringing the youth of Jewish, Christian, and Muslim youth together to celebrate differences. And so they had a training here, and we have out this monster like cabinet with all the supplements and all the things. And a couple of people are like, oh my God, you guys take all of those things? And he's like, well, not all of them all the time, but like we have what we take. And then if we need things, it's here, and it keeps us healthy and well. And it was such a new concept. Literally, it could not be barely grasped. Like, wait, what? Because this idea of actually preventing and helping build up the body and build up the foundation and prevent you from getting sick, or that if everyone around you sneezing, like you might sneeze for a day, but like, boom, your system just able to, what to give yourself. You start building your system up. And then after a day or so, you up your water, you up your supplements, you have a good night's sleep, and it's done. It doesn't have to be a 10-day cold or a 3-week cold like a lot of people are experiencing now. It can be a couple of days, and then you're back up and running.
Yeah. And on top of that, if I may, Dr. Cari, excuse me for interrupting, but in terms of supplements, it is so important to have an arsenal. And I'll say, I know Dr. Cari gets this in her clinic. I get it as well. So people come to us with the graveyard of supplements that they're not sure what to take. They're not sure what's working. Empower your clients to help them understand how they can muscle test themselves. Have a professional muscle test you or help, but know that you have an arsenal of your elderberry or whatever you need, your digestive enzymes, your probiotics, whatever it is, so that you know what to take, and help empower your clients so that they can feel comfortable. They don't have to rely on you. That's a huge part of how Dr. Cari and I both want to help our clients. It's just about empowerment. I love kicking people out of the nest. Just go, be free, fly, have fun. I'm here if you need me, And it's so funny that you talked about celebrating differences. Real quickly, Mark's birthday was yesterday, and I went to a really cool shop in Crystal Lake, and I had a tarot card reading, and one of the cards was celebrate differences. And Dr. Cari just said it today, and I'm like, holy moly, no surprises here. Anyway, carry on.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, like, the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. And a lot of people come into my office with a grocery bag full of stuff from like Costco, Walgreens, and the way that it's manufactured, they're not all created equally.
Correct.
The way that it's manufactured, fish oil, especially, it's super rancid more often than not by the time it gets into your mouth. So you do need to know where it's sourced. I have a whole store at Be Optimal specifically so I can ensure that people are getting good quality supplements. I don't know if you have like a Full Script account.
Yeah, I do.
So I have Full Script. You have Full Script, so people can probably find it in our bio links.
Yeah.
And they can shop there. So if you need a vitamin D or like things that you think are simple and easy, vitamin B, vitamin D, a vitamin C, like get a good quality one, because vitamin C is sourced from corn 9 times out of 10. And corn is super toxic. It's one of the highest sprayed
Grains.
grains out there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And it was hybridized before it was, I could go on a whole tangent on corn, but I won't. But anyway, it was hybridized before it was genetically modified. So even when it says non-GMO, it's still super chaotic from a biological point of view, and it can super mess you up. So gluten-free doesn't mean like go eat a bunch of corn, which a lot of things are made of corn when they're gluten-free. So it's like you have to be mindful and understand and be educated to really get, where things are sourced and not. And again, if you don't, you're talking to Renee or you're talking to someone like me or one of the doctors in our office or listen to our free health classes. It doesn't have to cost money to educate.
Correct.
Right? There's so much great information. There's a lot of shit information out there too, though, that confuses people. So
there is too. And then even in terms of supplement, even Dr. Cari's mentioning, take a good B vitamin. They do testing in their office for methylation. And I'll just real quickly go down that rabbit hole. So you can take the wrong B vitamin because if you don't what's called downregulate or clear certain B vitamins, it's almost like, do you guys remember I always explain methylation like this. Do you always remember the toy, the Slinky, right? Right. So methylation is the same thing as a Slinky. When the Slinky gets caught on one of the stairs and it doesn't go forward, that's your liver not clearing what it needs to clear. So Dr. Cari's office, they can muscle test for methylation. They can do energy testing for methylation. They can do actual testing for methylation to see if you need a little more B6 and a little less B12 or what type of B12. That is super, super important with supplements. I definitely say don't take supplements willy-nilly. Don't guess test and talk to a professional in terms of your supplementation. So off my soapbox there.
I love your description for that.
I love that too. And I think to interject, that's such a great point because so many people have this, it's funny, like you were saying, Dr. Cari, you're like, people just pay attention towards the end of their life, but they make excuses as to why they're not taking supplements. Because they're probably taking, number one, the wrong ones, and they're not seeing a change because they're not getting the dosage that they need. They're not getting the correct supplementation that they need. And people just don't know what they don't know. So unless they're seeing a specialist in that field that can help them with that, they're going to have a salty taste in their mouth about taking something because they just don't know.
They don't know. And they'll blame genetics. And I'm like, no, genetics is the blueprint. And Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief. And the way he describes it is that if everything that was genetic expressed, it would be like this. Ooh, look at that piece of land. I have a blueprint of a building that I want to build. Let me throw the blueprint on the land and I'm going to drive back tomorrow and the building will be built. But that's actually not how it works.
That's perfect.
So much time you've got to get the metals and the woods and the nails and the people and the building and it's months and years and months and years and to like actually get that to happen. So a lot has to take place before that genetic imprint like actually shows. So a lot of people make a lot of excuses. It mostly comes, unfortunately, and I don't mean this from judgment, but from ignorance because they don't know what they don't know, just like you said. And, yeah, it's fascinating. There was something else I wanted to say, but I love what you said about the whole Slinky thing. And then I want to divert a second. So the methylation piece is really interesting. And pretty much it goes to our genetic imprint, as I was talking about genetics there, that we have specific what's called genetic SNPs. That either express or don't express or like are available to us or just don't really work in us. So some people, as you were saying, methylate or break things down very, very efficiently. And other people, a lot of people have thrown out the MTHFR, like that's a SNP. So that's one that people tend to know about. And if you don't have MTHFR, you don't methylate well, you can't detoxify well, those are the people that tend to be extra sensitive to toxins like a shot or a medicine or, or something like that, because they can't get rid of the toxic components efficiently and effectively. So then the question is, how do we get to the root cause on a biochemical level? And that's this J. Dunn's methylation work that we do. It's super interesting. It's a little bit slow and steady wins the race on that one in terms of that. There are ways that I can kind of cut in to find primary toxin and help them handle the toxin while we're getting their genetics to actually work for them. But just like you said, for a B vitamin, some people over methylate. And so if you take a methylated B vitamin, it actually can create more toxin. You might need like the adenohydroxy B vitamin. So it's a different form that allows your body to utilize it. And that's where I also am saying, like, it's not all created equally. You need to really understand the biochemical components of how your specific body breaks things down or doesn't. And then we find very specifically what's going to actually make your body run more efficiently so that you're less likely to get sick all the time, have digestive issues all the time, like whatever it may be.
Right.
So,
And yeah. And it's very well put. And it's so true, and just to piggyback on what we were saying earlier, I always tell my clients, pay now for your health or pay later. Pay now for your organic and your practitioner and be healthy and enjoy your life, or pay later when you're in a tailspin and maybe you can't even get out of it. So spend the money now.
It takes that much longer to get out of it. So it's like, if you're driving a car and your check engine light goes on and you're like, ooh, that's really annoying to look at that light. So you're like, fuck it, I'm going to ignore it. But you keep driving. It's really annoying. So you're like, you know what? I'm pulling over to the side of the road. I'm just going to cut the wire to that light.
Good idea. Not.
Right. Because we do that a lot, though, with our own body. So we cut the wire to the light and we keep driving our car. And what's going to eventually happen? It will break down. Your engine will break down on the side of the road.
It will.
And now, not only do you have to call for a tow truck, freaking get a brand new engine or whatever, because the whole thing just fried because you ignored the thing that just all it needed was some oil.
Right.
And so on and so forth. So like it could have been a 5 to 10 minute thing and they just greased it up and reconnected whatever they need to reconnect. And then light goes off, boom, boom, everything's great. Or it could be thousands of dollars, many days or weeks or months. And then it still might not run that great because it just super fried.
Yeah.
So we do that to our body and we're like, you know what? I'm going to ignore it's normal for me to get headaches every day. So that's cool. So I'm just used to it. So maybe it'll go away. 5 most dangerous words. And then, and then it's just like the symptoms are ignored. So then the body starts screaming louder. So now I'm bloaty. Well, whatever. I'm always kind of bloaty after I eat. So I'll just eat a little bit differently. Gee, I'm still bloaty, but now I'm really hurting and I'm super constipated. That's okay. I'll just ignore that. And so then it just keeps your body will just start to scream and scream. Well, now you're not pooping. So now the toxins are overloading into your body. Now your joints hurt because your whole system's inflamed.
Right.
Now your whole system's inflamed. And now you have arthritis. People live with arthritis for years, decades, and never have any pain. Arthritis doesn't necessarily have to equate to pain. Right. It just does when all the systems are go and they're basically trying to tell you to do something about it.
Right.
And if we don't know that every time we eat, we're fueling the fire because we're eating refined sugar and gluten and corn and dairy, then we don't realize that literally we're the problem and we can actually shift it.
And so many people don't even realize with joint pain that it mostly, unless there's any kind of direct trauma, that comes from the gut usually, most of the time, I would say. and two, in terms of Dr. Cari was mentioning your genetics and your genes and how these things turn on, these genetic SNPs turn on in our body from our diet, our environment, our emotions. This is how the body turns on all these things that now create maybe a detoxification pathway impairment. So when I had my QNRT with Dr. Naomi, and I'm super excited for my appointment next week, I felt like she helped me detoxify my emotions, not turning them off, but helping my body downregulate these pathways, this shit, right? So it's the same thing biochemically in the body. If you've got these all of a sudden impairments where your body can't get rid of waste, look at your diet, look at your environment, look at your emotions. It's all part of it, right?
Right. So, and I have to say, number one, what you do is so important, Renee, because like that foundational piece of really getting digestive health and getting the diet right is the foundation of health, because the fuel we put in affects how we function. And if we eat crap, we feel like crap. And if we learn how to eat well for our body, we get to function amazingly. And it makes my work so much easier because I educate on that. but it takes a while to like find the rhythm of that and have someone hold you accountable and give you, so I've got recipes and I've got this, but like where I can thrive is really going deeper beyond that. That's foundational.
Yeah.
And people miss that because listen, the digestion, that gut health is that gut brain connection. So many people are brain foggy. They can't sleep well at night. They are constipated or have diarrhea or get bloaty and gassy. Like I said, then you get a backup of toxins. That just adds to a whole stream of symptoms and discomfort. Yep. So that piece of gut health is like legit so important. So I just want to like drive that home because your work is so very important in like really creating that foundation.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's the part of the triad, right? You can't have one without the other. You got to have it all.
It's true, but it is really foundational. And, the other piece is that I wanted to just share that QNRT because we talked about it last time, but the people that haven't listened to that part 1 yet, Quantum Neuro Reset Therapy. Quantum Neuro Reset Therapy. And essentially what it does is it allows the brain guide the process. The brain works very linearly, and it allows us to access the lobe of the brain. Because like Renee, you're a loving, yummy person. You want to love people. So the fact that you have been running though with a program of people piss me off, it's not your nature. It's a reactive survival pattern.
Right.
That's not really like the true essence of you is not that like you like walk around and you're like, people piss me off and blah. Like you're not really like, you're not an angry person. And yet when we find ourselves charged up and in that state of like, I want to literally kill everyone. Everyone sucks, like fuck everyone and everything. It's like, I always say like when I get really charged and I'm like, where's this really coming from? I need to put my arm up on that, right? I need to get muscle tested. I need to find out what's the root of why I'm in this reactive place, because this is not balance. This is not love. And who I am from that true space, right? And we all are, I really believe, comes from this place of light and love. But when we're not there, what's really going on? It could be a genetic imprint that you came in with. So it's literally all you've ever known. You're like, no, that's me. It just is. I'm an asshole and I blah, blah, blah. And that's how I run. And it's like, I'm not. Right. But where is that really coming from? So when you can access that cortices of the brain, the cortex of the brain, the cranial nerves associated, the emotions associated according to the hypothalamus and sort of the different reflex points, and reset it all at the same time, it is literally magic. And I had someone come in for a very first time ever. Never had she been treated. And she came because she was excited about QNRT. And I was like, let's rock it. Basically said, for decades, I've been in so much pain. I can barely walk, but I love living an active life. And she actually lives that foundational piece. She coaches people on nutrition.
Nice.
And, but she was in a ton of pain, like her feet killed. And I was like, let's just see if there's a brain component dealing with the feet and the hands that just keep you up, literally wake her up at night. They're so painful. I said, let's just see. I'm curious. And sure enough, there was on both pain and inflammation, red light, green light. So we use laser lights to enter. And whatever we cleared, I don't know. It went super deep though. Foundational. The first several QNRTs are always going to be foundational, the lower portions of the brain. And what I mean by that is the cerebellum, the midbrain, the brainstem, or cerebral medulla. And because the brain needs to sort of access that first before you go into the upper portion. So anyway, we finish and she's like, literally the pain is decreased. And we did all these muscle tests and they were strong where they were weak before. And she's like, I'm like literally feeling more space in my body. My body's not hurting as much. And as she moved through the week, less and less and less, no disruption in her sleep. This is just one session. This is the magic of QNRT. It is literally the most profound work I've ever done.
That is such a beautiful story. And if I may piggyback on that,
yeah,
I've been having issues with my lungs for about 1.5 years. It's quite scary. I feel like I can finally get air into my lungs. And I know there's a huge emotional component to it. And that is absolutely just beyond profoundly scary when I'm having to put a pulse ox on my finger to see if I'm dying. Right. And
Very
now, right. And there's a hormonal piece, there's an emotional mechanism. But one of the things Dr. Naomi shared with me when she tested me was she said, you're high functioning, but you're exhausted. I'm like, that resonates. Right. Cause I'm just on go, 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 go. Yeah. But she rejiggered the part of my brain that needed it. She explained how some people start with a different part, but I had that intact. So she went to the next place, and it was very foundational. Like I said, I just feel like life is completely different from just that one session. And Dr. Cari was mentioning there's an air traffic control center in the brain called the hypothalamus, which is, in my world, responsible for your cravings and what you want to eat and all that kind of stuff. So I always tell my clients, your cravings and your hunger doesn't come from your stomach. It's your brain saying, hey, tongue, go get that chocolate. And you're like, yes, I'm on it. So when you can have really good brain functioning, firing, and having it work the way it's supposed to work, that's what's, in my professional opinion, my honest personal opinion, that's how your body starts to thrive. It really comes from the hard drive from the brain, and the brain is, that's what sends the signals to everything else in your body. So when you can rewire that brain, and help lift off some of that wiring or change it so that the brain is firing properly, everything can go back into place. In fact, I was just talking with a dear colleague this morning that Dr. Cari and I know, and I think she's going to be bringing her daughter over to Dr. Naomi for a foot issue for some QNRT, and I'm excited to see how she does with that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it does literally change the wiring, and it releases it. It releases it. It allows space for you to actually function, because when there's trauma of any kind, now just any symptom doesn't necessarily mean there's a brain component. So Dr. John Turner, who created this, created it from major accidents that he was involved in. He had the best physical work ever. He was not getting well. He could barely function through a day or even a half a day. And he ended up downloading this work and kind of creating it through studies and so on. And his whole thing was like, if it was physical, it would have fixed, but my brain is holding on to the trauma, and it will do that to help us survive and cope. So when we can release the traumas, when we can release the patterns that are held there to help us survive, thinking that it's doing a great thing for our body and our life, but really it's actually keeping us in a trauma cycle, and it's keeping us in the symptom. When it can clear and release, your body's actually able to heal and amazing things happen. So just because you have a symptom, it doesn't mean there's a brain component. So we always check to see. Now, it doesn't mean that as we clear other things, it won't release the actual thing that's happening in that part of the body. But like I said, I looked directly at the foot and the hands to see, is there a brain component? And there was with that particular patient. But there have been times where I go over this hip thing or the SI joint or the sciatica, and it's like, there's not a brain component, which tells me that it's probably more physical. There could be some emotional stuff, but we've got to get the physical right first. So the body will always guide what it needs. And it is really fascinating, but it's an incredible release,
It is. Well, and on the emotional component too, I've done a lot of work on myself. A lot of people, do a lot of work and they don't want to kind of revisit the trauma. And this work doesn't have you revisit it. It just fucking removes it. It's done.
Yeah. And I have a woman who is like balls to the wall, the biggest go-getter that there ever was. And she constantly struggles in her finances. And she affirms and she coaches people, and she's legit, like, she is baller. She's a mega creator, but for whatever reason, she's always blocked to like move next level on a financial space. Well, we weren't working on finances. We were just seeing where her brain guided. Sure enough, it was a genetic component. It went back a few generations on one of her, family sides. And it was really wrapped into this part of her that did not feel worthy of experiencing prosperity. It wasn't abundance. She was good with abundance, prosperity.
Interesting.
And it went really deep. And I was like, honey, you could affirmation all you want. You were never going to get there, because this went way too deep. It was a deep-seated program that had to be reprogrammed for her to realign to really who she is. And I am going to be very curious to see what she's able to create. This just happened like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So to see like what she's able to now create, because she's a go-getter. I mean, she doesn't like sit on her ass like the world should just bring me prosperity. She works her ass off. She's out there inspiring and igniting and creating people to be more ambitious. And yet she's like running into walls. What is that?
Yeah, that's
It
so
wasn't a match.
interesting.
It wasn't a match. It was like, what's really going on? It was beyond her. But yet
Yeah.
it was ingrained. Like, I'm a failure. I'm a legit failure. And that's what was running as the survival.
Right. Well, and it's so interesting that you bring that up too, because there's nobody in this world that doesn't have some kind of stress, whether it's emotional, financial, whatever it is, right? And really changing that brain chemistry is such a beautiful thing to be able to help them receive, release. And the testing that you guys do is not only saying, hey, it might not be the brain if there is a hip issue, if there is a spine and neck issue, maybe it is a structural component. Address the structure for sure, but always check back with the brain, because more than likely with doing this work that you do, is it safe to say that a lot of stuff goes back to the brain, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
And actually you were talking about muscle testing. Dr. Naomi is teaching a muscle testing class in person. Unfortunately, you can't take it online because it's so tangible.
Yeah.
But it's like her third class that she's teaching, back by popular demand. People are going crazy because they want to learn how they too can access and really be able to test what works for them or not. So, and then once she finishes this, we're going to set an advanced class so people can take it yet another step further. But I believe it's February 11th. It's on the beoptimal.com. It's on our classes page, because we have like a whole calendar of events.
Yes.
So yeah, so people can find it there and register. I think there's a handful of spots left, but it literally sells out every time. So if you want it, sign up. It's not that expensive. I think it's like $35 or some $40.
Yeah.
And it's like a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, I think.
How fun. I think it's a great way for people who aren't sure, because so many doubters, like, I don't think I'm doing it right. And it's like, there's no wrong way to do it. You get your answer how you get your answer. So,
you just gotta feel it. You just got to feel it. Because the skeptics are like, yeah, that looks fucking weird. Like there's no way. And it's like, well, yeah, it does. But like, come feel it. You'll see.
Well, and if you're doing it, if you're doing it organically and for the betterment of a person, and I actually go back to the story. My husband was at some kind of seminar, and somebody was up on stage selling some multi-level marketing product, and the guy brought somebody else up on stage and did muscle testing, and it was just a shit show. He was getting all the wrong answers because he was trying to sell him something, and it was embarrassing. So when you come at it from a real genuine place, like Dr. Cari and her team does, of trying to help and get the answers with no practitioner agenda,
no bias,
no bias, none of that, just the conduit of what does this person need. Not only do you get clear, organic answers, right? You're able to help guide that person and help direct them and help empower them for their better health. It's just so important. You can't just rely on your practitioners. You have to be self-sufficient. We are here to light the way for people. We're here to give you ideas and hope and help and share laughs and tears and all the stuff that we do as practitioners, right? But we want to guide the way for you so that you can make it down your path. And we're always, always here for you guys. I mean, Dr. Cari loves doing what she does. It's clear, she wouldn't be in practice 17 years. I'm coming up on my 20th year. I still love what I do. It is just such a joy when people say, I have been feeling so poorly, and just this one dietary change, I'm sleeping and I don't have to worry about where the bathroom is, and I've got my life back.
I think, Renee, like, to almost like bring it back home from the beginning of like, how are we moving into 2024 to be healthier? And I think, one of the things that I've chosen to do for me is, how can I show up to love myself more today? And like, if I love myself, and you can look at it from the triad, if I'm showing up to love myself today, what do I choose to do for myself, my body, structurally today? Does it feel good to move it and exercise? What kind of exercise? You know what? I'm feeling a little tired. Like, I think just a brisk walk and getting fresh air in nature, that feels good. Or I feel like I need to sweat my ass off. I'm going balls to the wall. I'm going Peloton. I'm going to, or it feels really good to sit in the infrared sauna. I need to sweat out the toxins. I just feel kind of disgusting after the weekend of partying or whatever, right? So it's like, how do I show up to love myself structurally? How do I choose to show up to love myself biochemically? Like, what do I choose to eat? And I've been meaning to get that air purifier or that water purification system. Like, I'm going to bite the bullet today. Like, that feels very important. I'm going to put good quality water in my body. It makes up 70 to 90% of my body and brain. Why would I not put in good quality water? That's loving for me. I'm going to choose to do that. So it's like showing up for yourself. And then how do I choose to show up for myself lovingly on an emotion level?
Mm.
Like, do I feel extra stressed? Should I color in a coloring book? Should I do a guided meditation? Should I pick up some, Joe Dispenza, or like, do I want to, or whatever it may be, or do I want to schedule an appointment with someone like myself who can practice neuroemotional technique or QNRT or any of these other emotional techniques that can support things that just aren't making sense. You just know you're stressed and things are not great, right? Like, how can, again, moving into 2024, how can I show up to love myself just a little bit more? Like, what can I do for me? Yeah.
And if you can't, right? If you're like, no, I don't need to do anything, that's a big red flag. That's where you start calling Be Optimal Health and Wellness and let them get you, bitch slap you into something, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And you can have fear around trying to move into health, the financial piece, I got to do the work. I don't know what to eat. Oh my God, it's just too much. No, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Right.
You could get busy living for death, or you could get busy living for life.
No,
and it's like, I brought up to someone, hey, and I was being reserved. I was actually being conservative because I knew what they really needed was once a week. And I thought, just commit to coming in once a month. And the answer was, oh my God, once a month is so much. And I'm like, wow, well, if that's too much, I was reserved. I think you should come once a week. You're a disaster, but okay. I mean, if that's too much, shit, we're probably in a big trouble here, because they're very busy living for death.
Living for death. And like the old saying, right? If you don't make time for your health will make time for you. All the sayings that Dr. Cari and I have. I mean, it's
right. You just crash on the side of the road, and now you got to fix the whole engine.
Right. And we're not here to throw metaphors at you guys. Like, this is just about getting quiet for 1 minute. If everybody got quiet for 1 minute of the day, in the morning or after lunch or whenever you have 1 minute, and just think, what can I do for myself? Maybe I'm going to take 1 minute of meditation because it's all I can do in a day. Great. Do 1 minute. Maybe I'm going to spray a flower essence. That takes 2 seconds? Yeah. I mean, something, right? And if you're stuck and you don't want to do something, again, red flag, reach out. Yeah. Reach out for help. Yeah. Let somebody partner with you in your health. Let somebody guide you. Let somebody shine the light for you so that you can move into optimal health.
Yeah. And if I may just share a little bit about my center.
Please.
Please. So
yes.
We have 3, including myself, 3 chiropractic kinesiologists. I've got a Chinese medicine doctor who actually is certified in something called Synergetica. He's the only one, I think, in the States or in the Midwest that does Synergetica.
Which is, what is that?
Uses, I can only explain it semi because I don't do it, but it uses these sort of like mirror things. And I've never felt, it totally shifts the way your energy moves and rebalances the meridians in your body. He is really gifted. You can try out like a mini session with him, and that alone like kind of does it. Dr. JR is super brilliant. He has a PhD in Chinese medicine. He got in China. He lived in China. He speaks like 5 languages. The guy's brilliant. He's really quite amazing. So Dr. JR, he does Chinese medicine. We have Dr. Jason Penchik, who's a nurse practitioner. He does peptides, including like the latest semaglutide stuff, right? Really helping people to like save their life. I mean, there's been a handful of patients, it's night and day difference, where it was just non-negotiable and they needed help now. Semaglutide's the answer for that, in my opinion. And then, IV nutrition. He does bioidentical hormones. We do ozone, nasal, auricular, anal, vaginal, as well as IV ozone, which can, kill bacteria and fungus and molds and just all those things. It's incredible. And at least that's what we find. Okay. But I think clinically it's pretty powerful. And then we have a foot detox lady who helps to detoxify all the crud, the dead cells out of your body.
Sis, right?
Sis, she's our crazy Italian lady. She's amazing. And then we have a bunch of different light therapies. And one of the things, we have a massage therapist and so on. But one of the things that there was a guy that had a near-death experience. And when he came back, he basically said humans are depleted of light energy. And what really allows us to thrive and regenerate is light. And this was way like decades ago, before like the whole light therapy, red light therapy, whatever was like
Right.
a fad. Right now it's a fad, but it's a solid fad because the truth is humans are depleted of light. We don't get enough. We're inside more. There's all kinds of weird weather things that we just don't get as much sun.
Right.
And we need light to regenerate instead of degenerate. So he came up with what was initially called dream spots, now called the origin light. It has red, blue, amber, and infrared light that comes in. It comes over your head like a helmet. It comes through your face like your eyes, basically. And it feeds the mitochondria of your cells. We also have something called Therify, which I think I mentioned before, which also feeds life-giving, light-giving energy in a very powerful way, creating a cold plasma field. It's very quantum nerdy, but
I love it.
and like the quantum physics piece, it's
I
like
love it.
genius. Yeah.
So you said that gentleman was the guy that made the dream spa? I know the dream spa. It's like that. It looks like a
Yeah.
a little dome. And so
Yes. And
okay.
like another company, yeah. So I can't remember the guy's name. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
It's
The guy
okay.
that came in to invent it, but he had a near-death experience, and that is how it came to be.
Well, you know, it's so
When I
interesting.
first learned about it, I thought it was the biggest hunk of bunk. I was like, this is whack. I was so skeptical because to me, like if I'm putting my Cari J stamp of approval, like I need to know that it's solid. And I just
Totally.
thought it was the weirdest, and like
Crazy.
2 years later, I saw this guy that was using it every day. And I was in mid-sentence, I was like, David, you look younger. And he's like, oh, I am. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I use Dream Spa every day. And I mean, I'm telling you, this guy has environmental sensitivity. Would never dye his hair ever. He would die. So his hair went from gray to dark again. Yeah. And
Sold.
he had like
I'm
less wrinkles in
painting
his
on
face.
the stuff on my grays because I won't dye
I'm
my
telling you, I don't have gray, but he didn't have the same amount of wrinkles. I was like, what is
I
happening?
mean, and do you offer that in your office?
Yeah.
So people
And
can come and
so,
get sessions?
and then his partner was like, oh, Cari, I thought my eyes were getting worse. And I went to get them checked. It turns out they corrected. So that she was almost 20/20 and she had the worst vision for like the longest time, but doing this every day, her body stopped degenerating and started regenerating. And where it showed up for her first, like really, like where she really noticed was her eyesight. And after that conversation, I was like, all right, I'm in, I'll buy one.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, and the winter blues and people that have seasonal affective disorder,
Yeah.
and really struggle in the wintertime, huge when you get light therapy. It totally 180s it.
Well, not only is it regenerative, it helps with opening up cellular health and probably detoxification. Like for me, my eyesight, I know is from my liver, like my floaters are all from my liver. So again, it's detoxification, emotions, everything that I'm working on. But I love what you said earlier about the ozone therapy. I know Dr. Cari sees a ton of patients. I see a lot of clients with a lot of vaginal issues. Undiagnosed bladder pain and UTIs that are not UTIs. They're not infections, but doctor's going to throw the antibiotics at it anyway. But,
Right.
For me, helping people with like a lower histamine diet and helping them that way to remove some of that stress. But when the vaginal biome and all the microbiomes are out of balance, and remember, guys, your vaginal biome for us women is an extension of your microbiome, right? Everything goes
100%,
downstream.
yeah.
So if you got crotch issues, look at the gut. But if you need extra help and you need something like specific there, the ozone therapy sounds like it could be a wonderful tool. I mean,
vaginosis is very difficult to like get rid of for women. It tends to be.
yes.
Like I think if you do it a couple times a week, 3 times would be ideal, but a couple times a week, like I want to say, I think Dr. Jason said like at least 6 to 8 times. It can literally handle it.
Well, like for me, I mean, full transparency, I struggle with issues down under, and I always feel like I have an autoimmune crotch, and my stuff like goes there, right?
Yeah.
Physical abuse, sexual abuse, of course, something's going to land there. And I would definitely be interested in trying some different chemical makeup for myself down there as well too. So I'll have to add that to my list.
You can actually insert Megaspore into the vaginal canal, which is a sporobiotic.
Yeah, I have it.
One of the things that Dr. Tom Bain, who created Microbiome Labs and Megaspore, he basically said, don't use coconut oil. It actually creates leaky gut. And a
Because
lot
of
of
the salicylates, right? Is it because of the
yeah,
salicylates?
he said like in order to create a leaky gut in dogs, in order to like see if they could fix it, they just fed him a lot of coconut
Coconut.
oil. I was
And
like,
everybody,
wow,
how
people think it's like the best thing ever.
people, so many people use it. I
Yeah.
don't use it. I
Yeah,
just don't
he's
use
like,
it.
just use olive oil or, you can
Butter.
yeah, just whatever, but when you're inserting.
Tallow. I actually use beef tallow. So
Yeah, so there it is. But
I just
you can throw in,
Megaspore.
I have a
Yeah.
suggestion for both of you ladies. So I am willing to like literally go in the cold just to utilize your services. I think like what's stopping both of you from doing a retreat where like it's just like a wellness, like because they have yoga retreats, they have like
Yeah.
women's retreat, but like can we just like do like a week long, like people just fly in from everywhere and they get digestive health, they get a little of this, a little of that, and they like
Sure.
are reborn again
Yes, that sounds
with
good to me.
wellness.
I'm into it. Are you guys familiar with Edgar Casey?
Of course I am. Yes, of course.
So
Do you know Janine Edgar Casey? Have you ever
I've
heard
heard
the
the
name?
name.
okay, so he was way ahead of his time, and actually he channeled, they thought he was crazy or whatever, but he channeled in information. I mean, people would call him, he would basically channel in and say, you go to the store, to the back of the store, and on this second shelf, just to the left of a red bottle, you'll find this medicine and that's going to cure you. And like it did, like nothing, no one could cure this person. And it was just stuff like that. I mean, I could go on and on. It's so cool. I've read a lot of Edgar Casey, and he ended up creating like a health center basically on the sea. Like I want to say in the Carolinas, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was.
And it was just like a very beautiful setting. And he would just channel in and he would say, like, you need 3 chiropractic adjustments a week, and you need to get acupuncture, and you need to only eat this and this. And, and then people would just stay there until they got healthy, and they would be like roll in, crawl in, not be able to walk, not be able to talk, not be able to whatever. And in a few weeks, they would be able to like walk, run, jump, and their health was back. But he had a whole team of doctors and people, so that whatever they were needing, they would be able to get all that healing and health there, sleep. So they would sleep there and the whole thing. And really it was this whole retreat for them to just find wellness and health. And again, this was like way like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. And there are places like that. I mean,
it's a vision of mine. I've always been like, I need to do that. And did I know Edgar Casey? Like, were we buddies? Maybe did I work there? It feels so familiar to me. But when you say that, Janine, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I would love to do that. People just need to pay. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, well, it's just like, no, I have to be able to like support what I would do if I'm in my office. And in retreats, people are like, it needs to cost like $80. And it's like, I'm literally giving $10,000 worth of stuff. It's got to be worth at least $1,000 to you or whatever.
Right.
So I'm super down with doing something, but it is a lot to carry. Like I have a homeopathic pharmacy. I have all my store. I have like the laser lights and the GRT lights and my blocks and all the flower essences, like 3 different kinds in the whole entire thing. So I want to be able to give people what they need and what they desire. But I would rock a retreat any day, anywhere warm and delicious, like the Caribbean. Yes. I would rock a retreat at Be Optimal too. And like do it like for a full weekend or week and just have it be where people could come and like super get well, just pay to get like all the things that whatever they need.
Yeah. You could charge like 3 to 5K or whatever, like you could like check off boxes
to unlimited what they need.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like different tiered packages or whatever.
Right. I would fly to Illinois to do this.
Yeah, well, Renee, you got to get your ass into Be Optimal.
I will. I would love it. I can be doing little talks on nutrition, can kind of take that load off Be Optimal. They do all that there too, but that's, they don't need to do that part. They can do their stuff,
Correct. I'd much rather have someone who's super like, that's your passion. And you can walk people through and hold their hands, because that's not what I love to do. I can just tell them, but then they're like, oh my God, but I'm freaking out. I need recipes and I need it. And I'm like, go see Renee.
There you go.
I can't. Let's just.
But That would be so much fun. I would love to, I've always thought about doing it, and I would love to have some kind of retreat where people are just coming and, feeling their body change, just feeling it shift for the better. When you can feel that shift in your body and you know that everything's okay and you've got a wonderful team. I feel so honored to be with Dr. Cari and her team. They're just phenomenal. She's very particular about who she has working with her. And so she has only exceptional, from her receptionist, front desk, to everybody. You're just handheld through her whole office, and you're cared for like a person. You're not a number. They know your name. In fact, one of the girls that works for Dr. Cari brought her daughter in to see me years ago. So we're all always connected. It's always about connection, and having the right tools and having some tools. So again, I want to lovingly encourage everybody who's listening. And again, thank you for your emails and your questions last time that I had Dr. Cari on. I'd be happy to have her on as many times as you guys want. We're here to give you support, ideas, suggestions, pause, a little bit of pause, dog pause, PAUSE pause, for your health, for your wellness, for not only for you, but for your family, for your loved ones, for your kids, for your uncles, for your neighbors, for people who are struggling. We all have people in our life that we love. We all know people that are struggling with some kind of health issue. Get some kind of advice, opinion. You can call Dr. Cari's office from out of state. I take out-of-state clients as well, too, because everything that I do is virtual. We are happy to have a conversation with you about what we can do to help you. So if you guys have questions, of course, you can find Dr. Cari and her team at Be Optimal Health and Wellness. They're located in Skokie, Illinois. You can find me at thetummywhisperer.com. I'm located here in Fox Lake, Illinois, on the border of Wisconsin. Out far, but do I love it out here. And I want to invite everybody.
And Janine's going to plan a logistical, she's going to plan the logistics of an amazing retreat sometime soon.
Well, think about it. People on that note, like, I'm listening to this entire conversation, and what's so amazing is that people have a team of, let's say, doctors. Like, how many older people do you know of that say, oh, I have a team of doctors. I have an endocrinologist. I have a proctologist. Well, why can't you have a team of wellness? And then you don't necessarily need, not to downplay that, but we need to start living and not start backtracking, like you were saying. It's so much
waiting to die.
Or waiting to, right.
Yeah.
Why do you need a team of doctors that are constantly trying to fix you? Why don't you just get a team that's going to keep you healthy as long as they can? I think that's like the new way of living.
And more people want a holistic approach. I'm sure Dr. Cari hears this all the time. My clients come to me like, I kind of want to get off my omeprazole. I'm like, yeah, love to get you off of that because it's causing more issues. People don't want to be on medications. They would rather not, but they are, because they feel like it's going to put their body in balance. And maybe it bridges the gap for keeping you alive for the moment, right? So that your blood pressure is regulated and you're not having acid pouring up into your throat from an iliosphincter valve or a gluten or an emotion or whatever it is. And that's okay to bridge the gap. But those, I'm going to say it, medications are not long-term unless it's something big that's out of our wheelhouse, right? All that nutritional medications, which are your blood pressure medications and your proton pump inhibitors and all that stuff, that's all nutritional medication. That's the body out of balance nutritionally and emotionally and everything that we talked about earlier, not just nutritionally, but if your blood pressure is up, you're blocked with a detoxification pathway. You're eating a high histamine food. You have some old childhood trauma, all of the above, right? It's everything. Get off your meds, guys, unless they're here to keep you alive, and depending on what that is. But again, nutritional medication is the stuff that you need for your blood pressure.
You cannot get off meds unless you start to change your way.
That's it. This is what this is about.
People will try because they really want to, but they didn't change anything about what they're doing in their life. And then they fail, and that creates a trauma. So now they're scared to ever get off of it because the 2 times they tried was so traumatic to get off the antidepressant, the anti-anxiety, the whatever. Yes. And I'm like, half the people that come in, they're like, yeah, I'm having anxiety. I can't sleep. I'm like, dude, it sounds to me like you have a progesterone issue, not an anxiety issue. And to get their hormones right, now they're able to get off and they're like, oh, life's great.
Well,
totally fine. It's like, well, yeah, because we got to the root cause. We didn't cover up the symptom of like why you're having anxiety in the first place. And and again, it's like, there's been all this trauma. If we're not handling the trauma, you can't get off those antidepressants.
Right.
You're running 190 miles per hour into a brick wall. Like that thing is slowing you down a little bit until we can handle some of what's happening.
Right.
Because that's the problem. And then people get really scared about getting off of it.
Well, because their doctors also tell them, like, proton pump inhibitors should really be taken less than 2 weeks. That's the standard. But many doctors say, you're fine. But they don't look at how it actually shuts off your digestion and causes
it makes the symptoms worse.
Makes the symptoms worse. So again, but people do need to feel better. So we honor that. But at the end of the day, guys, if you want to get off your meds and you're not feeling good and you need some help, we are here to help you, give you some ideas and help you in health, not in sickness, right? In sickness and in health. That's what we
Nice one. That one's good, Renee.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I want to wish everybody a wonderful, healthy weekend. We're going to have Dr. Cari on. In fact, I want to have Dr. Naomi on. She said she would love to come on. And I want to, again, invite everybody to take charge of your health. Reach out to us with any questions, and we will see everybody in a couple of weeks. Janine, right? You can take it from here. Download, share, that's your part.
Yes, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, anywhere you listen to podcasts, and download, share the podcast, and leave a 5-star rating, which goes a long way in the podcast ecosystem.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thank you again, Dr. Cari, for making the time out of your very, very busy day. We appreciate it and we love you.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Okay.